to the podcast, The Book Isn't Necessarily Better. I'm Roxanne.
I'm Mikayla.
And we work at the Community Library Network at Post Falls.
The Book Isn't Necessarily Better is a podcast where we talk about books and their many, many adaptations. First up today, we'll be talking about several Jane Austen adaptations, the first of which is Emma. Emma is a comedy of errors where a very spoiled rich girl named Emma decides to play matchmaker for some of her friends, basically hurts a lot of feelings along the way, eventually realizes she's in love with the same guy as her best friend, who is poor and not a spoiled rich girl, and surprise, spoiled rich girl gets the guy.
Bingo.
That's
nailed it.
Right on the money. Emma has several adaptations that have been made since, including a 1996 Gwyneth Paltrow movie, a 2010 Indian adaptation called Aisha, and a 2020 version with Anya Taylor-Joy. You might recognize her. She's in The Queen's Gambit, which is huge right now. She's very popular at the moment. There have also been several plays and a musical, and in 1995, Clueless with Alicia Silverstone and Paul Rudd was based roughly on Emma. Ew, as if.
Clueless is so good. I mean,
it really is.
We're just talking about the costumes for one. I think they still stand up.
They really do, and it's all set in Beverly Hills. It's very, very 90s nostalgic, for sure.
I wonder if it was marketed as an offshoot of Emma, or if it was just, or how obvious do you think it is that it's Emma?
I think if you're familiar with the story, it's pretty obvious. I don't know that I would have known before I read Jane Austen that because I definitely saw Clueless first.
Right.
And I don't know that I would have known before that.
Yeah, I think so. And have you seen the new 2021?
I have. I loved it, actually.
I loved it.
Yes.
What I especially liked about the costumes, thing with me is that I really enjoy costumes in historical movies, is that they're really, really accurate. So
very, yeah.
I'm going down a lot of YouTube rabbit holes about costume designers who are comparing some of the costumes in the 2020 Emma and actually showing the patterns from the Victoria and Albert Museum that a lot of them are based off of.
Very cool. Yeah. There's also, for those of you out there who are big fans of book retellings, a Jane Fairfax novel by Joan Aiken, which is roughly based on this book. Also, for fans of Alexander McCall Smith, and I know there's a lot of you out there, there's a book called Emma, A Modern Retelling. There's also a manga edition, if you're into that sort of thing, and as part of the Jane Austen Undead novels, Emma and the Vampires, which I have not read, but it sounds fabulous.
Is she a vampire? Or is she a vampire hunter, do you think?
You know, I have not read it. I don't know. But, I don't know. Either way, I'm on board. It sounds fun.
Sounds like a blood-sucking good time.
Yes. Exactly.
The thing about the 96 one with Gwyneth Paltrow?
Yes.
I have maybe a common dislike of Gwyneth Paltrow that makes
oh no
reluctant to revisit the 96 one. But I love the Emma story. But I think I might be too annoyed with her.
I love Gwyneth Paltrow. I think she's fun in them. Yeah. Oh, I know. I think ever since Shakespeare in Love, I've been very, very, very obsessed with Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh, okay.
I like her. I like her candles too.
She has candles?
She has candles.
She has all sorts of
you didn't hear about this? Yes. Goop has a whole candle thing. We probably can't talk about it here because it's not super kosher.
Got it.
But sometime we'll talk about Gwyneth Paltrow candles, you and I.
Man.
Yes.
There's so much there.
Yes. So much to unpack, you guys. Any of those editions, most of them can be found in the library. Any that can't, I'd just like to put in a quick plug for our interlibrary loan services. Whoop, whoop. Anything you can't find here, we will find for you at another library and borrow it.
Quick question. Do you like Emma, the character?
The character? No, she's a spoiled brat and I hate her.
Which we're supposed to.
Yes, absolutely, you're supposed to hate her.
Isn't there the quote from Jane Austen? She says, in writing Emma, I think I finally created a character that nobody but me will like very much.
Yes, absolutely.
Which I love. I think it's funny when people talk about maybe Gone Girl or Gillian Flynn saying, like, she made an unlikable female character.
Mm-hmm.
No. a very long time.
Yes.
There's not too much new under the sun.
This has been happening. Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. You don't like her either?
I think maybe I'm embarrassed that I see certain parts of myself in her, at least a high school version of me, and I just shared a lot that's very vulnerable. About the rich girl part.
This is a safe space.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so, some of her maybe matchmaking tendencies, were little me in high school.
Okay.
I hope I've grown out of that.
She's not entirely bad. I think she's very much a product of her time and her social class. Mm-hmm. She gets up to a lot of the things she gets up to because she's a bored woman.
But she's allowed to.
Who's allowed to do things. Done. Roxanne, would you like to talk about Pride and Prejudice?
Yeah, Pride and Prejudice. It's a little book you might have heard of. So written in 1813 by Ms. Jane Austen. Probably the most famous Jane Austen book, I'd say. Yeah. Right? It has been through so many adaptations. So, you can do the straight-up versions. They went from 1952, 1958, 1968. Probably the two most recent ones that are the most famous are the BBC miniseries from 1995. Whoop, whoop. Now, I have two sisters and a female cousin that we are very into this version, and they would probably say that this is the definitive version. Mm. There's sort of two camps, I'd say. So there's the 1995 version with Colin Firth as Mr. Darcy, and then there's the 2005 adaptation, which, again, you're probably on Team 1995 or Team 2005. I like both, but the Keira Knightley one from 2005 is really fantastic.
It's beautiful, you guys.
The soundtrack will make you ugly cry.
Guaranteed. Oh, all night long.
You're going to like the way you cry, I guarantee it.
Yes, I am definitely in the 2005 Keira Knightley film camp. I love it. I can watch it on repeat. Over and over and over.
Great rewatch value.
Absolutely, yes. I also do have a very soft spot for the 1995 version with Colin Firth because of literally one scene. And I'm not even going to tell you what that scene is. You're going to watch it and you're going to go, oh, yep, that's the scene. You'll just know.
Just say it involves a lake.
Yes, a lake. And a white t-shirt and Colin Firth.
And I'm going to back up because I realized I didn't give a synopsis. I know that most people know.
What is Pride and Prejudice about, Roxanne?
It's universally acknowledged that this is a great book. You see what I did there?
I did.
So, Pride and Prejudice is the story of Lizzie Bennet and her four sisters, her mom and dad, and they live in a country house in England, and they're sort of rich-poor, being that they have a house, but being that there's no male heirs, it's known that all of the girls in the family must marry well, because once Mr. Bennet dies, the dad, all of the wealth will be moving on to their cousin, right?
Yes.
Mr.
Collins.
Mr. Collins.
Yes.
Is such a wonderful character in literary history.
Yes. Also in the Keira Knightley movie. I love him.
It's just like he's sort of
he's a stick in the mud, but he's a very lovable stick in the mud because he's so clueless. He's just like a hapless guy.
He's very awkward.
That's really all I can say about him. He also has my favorite line from that movie just because of how he delivers it. They're talking about where he lives right now. He works on like a parish, right? And he's talking about his patroness, and he has this line where he goes, "My small rectory abuts her estate," and it just cracks me up every time.
Oh, Mr. Collins. Mr. Collins does eventually find love after being rejected by Elizabeth, also called Lizzie. Lizzie has her own, basically the original rom-com, love-hate relationship with Mr. Darcy. Now, Mikayla, who would you say is more prideful and who's more prejudiced?
Oh my goodness. Darcy is both to me.
Okay.
Obviously, they're both very prideful and very prejudiced. Mm-hmm. It's both.
I would say that Lizzie is more prideful because Mr. Darcy basically is attracted to her. It's like, but I can't marry you because you're poor and your family's embarrassing. Sorry.
You're poor and your family's embarrassing. That's exactly the thing. And she definitely, it doesn't get better. He helps out a family member of hers. And I think that actually kind of, like, eventually, yes, it does turn her head and make her accept him a little more. But I think at first, this, like, sting of how just, like, uppity that was for him to be able to help her family when she couldn't, I think that really gets her.
Yeah, I would say that if we had to pick, I would say that Lizzie is the more prideful one.
Yes.
But, now I'm backing up on that. Mr. Darcy.
He's pretty prejudiced.
Well, he's also pretty prideful.
He is.
He's like, I have so much pride, I couldn't stoop to your poor and embarrassing
You're
family.
so poor, and your mom is so embarrassing.
So poor and so embarrassing.
You only own one dress.
Oh my god. Okay, real question about all these people walking on the moors in England.
Mm-hmm.
How is their shoe wear?
Oh, I'm sure it's terrible. I'm sure it's just awful.
All the time?
Probably, yeah. I'm sure that's like 90% of...
Slippers, right?
Yeah, 90% of the reason they own pigs, I'm sure, is because they literally have to make themselves a new pair of shoes, like, every day.
I know.
Yeah.
Talk about the moors, you guys.
Yeah.
So just to wrap up the synopsis.
Yes. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Lizzie and Darcy get over themselves, and 1,000 times, yeah, she would marry him.
Oh.
And she gets to be rich, you guys. But her family's still probably embarrassing. So we can't win them all.
Oh, her mom is definitely still embarrassing. I would not want to spend Christmas with them.
No, she seems like a lot.
Mm-hmm. She's a lot to handle, you guys. But in her defense, she's got 5 women to marry off, and they're all very headstrong.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, except for
she's got a lot.
Plain one.
Oh, yes, except Mary, who reminds me so much of...
Mary.
Yes, she 100% would. She reminds me so much of the youngest sister in Little Women.
Beth?
Of Beth, yes. They're like the same person.
I feel like Mary is more dour.
That's true.
Beth
is pretty, like, upbeat. She's happy.
She dies, sorry.
Spoiler alert, she's gonna die, you guys. In case you haven't seen Little Women yet, which also, by the way, is fabulous.
Yeah, we'll have to do that for a
we should. Future podcast.
So basically they get over themselves. She gets to get married. Everything ends up fabulously. Also a great ending in the 2005 adaptation.
Oh, yes.
Let's talk about adaptation.
Very cheesy, I have to say, but good.
So good.
So good.
So adaptations, of course, like I said, you have the straight versions where, it's played very similar to the book. Let's talk about the fun ones that deviate from the story. So, Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies.
There's lots of ands.
Okay.
Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
Etc., etc. Okay. So, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies started as a book. And then they made it into a movie. What's your hot take on this, Mikayla?
My hot take is that the movie is not very good. But it is, like, if you just want kind of a mindless sort of movie where a bunch of women are running around with swords and chopping zombies' heads off at balls, if that's up your alley, it's actually not bad for just kind of a mindless sort of watch.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. And I have not read the book.
So here's one with less zombies. My personal favorite is Bridget Jones's Diary.
Mm-hmm.
This was written as a book, I believe in 96. Don't come for me. It's wrong. Bridget Jones's Diary is written by Helen Fielding. They made it into a movie in 2001 with Renee Zellweger. And of course, it was quite the scandal when Zellweger, who is a Texan, was brought in to play a very British woman.
Mm-hmm.
Although, you can just clap back and say that, Vivien Leigh played Scarlett O'Hara and she was very British. It all comes around. Bridget Jones's Diary is one of my favorites. Again, Colin Firth plays Mr. Darcy, Mark Darcy, in the movie. And he's just charming as all get out.
Okay, so I have not actually seen Bridget Jones's Diary or read Bridget Jones's Diary. So what is it about that makes it your favorite adaptation of Pride and Prejudice?
Well, I guess I can't say it's my favorite adaptation of Pride and Prejudice.
Okay.
2005 one is my favorite, straight version.
Okay.
Bridget Jones's Diary is my favorite fun adaptation.
Gotcha. Your favorite knockoff.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a mess, and it just is a really genuinely funny book and movie that hold up.
Okay. Nice. All right.
All right, moving on to other adaptations. There is I don't know if it's actually Bollywood, but there is is it Bollywood?
I don't know. It might be Western.
Okay. But there is a movie called Pride and Prejudice, which stars an Indian protagonist. And then there are the Lizzie Bennet Diaries web series. And so, like, Pride and Prejudice, Lizzie Bennet Diaries series, these bring the story into the 21st century.
And guys, I just have to say, the Lizzie Bennet Diaries are partly... not partly responsible for, they were partly made by Hank Green, who is the brother of John Green, for all you YA fans out there. And Hank Green actually also started writing books last year, which are also fabulous.
Oh.
Just a quick plug for Hank Green. Go, Hank.
Hank Green?
Hank Green.
No. So, of course, Hallmark had to stick their little grubby fingers into this, and they have made Christmas movies based on Pride and Prejudice story, like Christmas at Pemberley Manor and Pride, Prejudice, and Mistletoe.
Oh my gosh.
Do you think that Jane Austen would be cool with this?
I don't, honestly. I don't think so. I think she'd be flattered that some of her novels got the recognition that they did, because many of them weren't published during her lifetime.
That brings me to another point, that there are also a lot of movies based on Jane Austen's life, because she's a really interesting character. She never married, and she died at age 41 from the war what she died from.
Yeah.
Like the cool aunt.
Mm-hmm. Definitely the cool aunt.
Goals.
Yes. Jane Austen is goals.
Yeah.
There's Jane Austen Land with Carrie Russell, yes.
And then there's Becoming Jane with Anne Hathaway and James McAvoy.
Oh, yeah, that one was good.
Mm-hmm. I fell asleep during it, but, that's not the movie's fault.
Right.
College.
Anne Hathaway is also goals, you guys. Let's be real.
Hot take, I think.
You don't think Anne Hathaway's goals?
She annoys me sometimes.
Oh, I love her. I think she's great.
Wow, we should have a whole podcast about...
We should, about who is and is not goals.
Yeah. But I'm not all hate. There's a lot of actresses I love. We just happen to mention two that annoy me. Have you read Death Comes to Pemberley? So this is a mystery.
I haven't.
Based on Pride and Prejudice.
I have not. Have you?
They've also made it... I haven't. They've also made that into a movie.
Nice.
Man, I think I'm also missing, probably dozens.
Tons.
Considering it's in the public domain now.
Oh, yeah. And has been for some time.
Yeah. Speaking of 2021, we have a ton of new content coming in the public domain. Probably the most exciting one for me is The Great Gatsby.
Me too.
I'm excited to see what sort of art's going to come out of this.
Oh, yeah. Already, I'll put in a plug for this one. I just finished the Great Gatsby graphic novel, and I can't remember the illustrator's name, but it was beautiful. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous, well-illustrated version of The Great Gatsby.
Hey, could you check that out from our library?
Oh my gosh, Roxanne, you absolutely could. Sweet. Yeah.
I might just do that, or I'll put it on hold, because you can also put things on hold.
Wonderful.
All right, well, I think that wraps it up. I think this show isn't so much about ratings, but acknowledging the universal truth that we don't always need to put a brand on, say, the book was better. Maybe we can just appreciate books and movies for what they are. I think it's like comparing apples and oranges a lot of time.
Yeah. And other art forms I'm just going to throw in there. There are others we'll talk about that are not necessarily just straight book to movie.
Yeah, good point. Graphic novels are a huge one.
Yeah. Broadway plays, concept albums.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Operas?
Operas, for sure. So there's a lot out there and a lot to appreciate and a lot that the library can offer you. So thank you guys for tuning in. This has been Mikayla
and Roxanne
with The Book Isn't Necessarily Better.